All right, now that you've heard all about Ryan and Zipline, what a cool company and cool idea. Now what I want you to do is take your notes. You've got your list of problems. Turn the page and start a new page, and at the top, write this: problem solving process. Problem solving. Okay, I gotta move myself out of the way here so I can get this on top. Process. Here we go. Okay, Ryan talked about this. There are 4 steps or 4 components to this. So do your best to kind of draw a circle, another circle. Make them big enough because we're going to write some terms on the inside, and then 2 more underneath those. Okay, so 4 circles total. And just pause the video as you need to so you can stay caught up. First circle, write the word define in there. This is the first step. It's critical. And actually, when you were working on the aluminum boats lab the other day, we read through this part together. This is, what was the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Or basically, what is the problem that you're working to solve? So I'm going to add on here, what's the problem? With a question mark. I'm not even staying inside the circle, sorry. Okay, so this is inside this defined bubble. Okay, what's the problem? And the other thing I want to emphasize here is, what are you trying to accomplish, or what's the end goal? Okay, or sometimes we'll say, what does it mean that you were successful? So I'm going to write the word success with a question mark, meaning you kind of need to know when you've accomplished your task. So what are you trying to do? Okay, that's the first step. Make sure you understand things before you jump anywhere else. Draw an arrow to this next one. And in fact, maybe what I'll do is make this a little bigger. All right, second step, prepare. I'm going to put just little bumps around here. This is where you are making some kind of plan. Maybe you're bouncing off or trying to come up with some brainstorms or ideas. You might be partnering or working with a team so that you're getting some feedback and some ideas from other people. Okay? 2 brains, always better than 1. Okay? This is your preparing and planning stage. Draw an arrow to this one. Here's what's happening on this one. Define, prepare. This one is probably the easiest one to understand because it's very concrete. Try. This one, sometimes I call the Nike swoosh, the Nike slogan one, because this is where you are just going to do it. This is where you're testing whatever you came up with. And you saw on Ryan's thing how many times they had to go back and remake those drones and test them over and over and over again to make sure they could handle the certain length trips and drop the target with that little parachute to drop the blood or the medication wherever it needed to be. Okay, that's the test phase. And the last one, draw an arrow this way. Define, prepare, try, reflect. That's it. Put some bubbles around this one. You actually do this really quickly the minute you are watching your test or your try stage. Okay, you are seeing right away, did it work? Was I successful? And here's the important question, which you took care of doing yesterday. Okay, maybe it kind of worked, but can I make it better? Can I make it smarter, faster, cheaper, more efficient, something like that? Okay, so that's define, prepare, try, and reflect. Now, Ryan drew an arrow back up here because as they were working through the process, sometimes a new problem cropped up, so they started in again. He also illustrated, though, sometimes what they had to do is they got to a stage and they said, whoops, let's back up and go back to the step before. So, will you also add arrows that go in the completely other direction? Because this isn't just a one-way process around the loop. Sometimes you stop and say, oops, we got to back up and try this again or come up with a different design. Okay, so make sure you have 2 sets of arrows going amongst those 4 bubbles or circles. And then once you've got that done, then I'll ask that the worksheets get passed out. So pause me while you get that taken care of, and we'll go from there. You'll see on this worksheet, you've got a nice graphic on here, which is nice to have. I'm going to move select so I get me out of the way. Make sure you put your name on the top and put whatever class hour, and then if it's A day or B day, right up here. Okay. The date isn't as big of a deal, but definitely your name and first and last and those. Okay. So up here, basically it's the same thing you just put in your notes, and they have their little bullet points under these 4 steps. Okay. Now let's find this part where it says what it looks like. You're going to list the strategies and processes you already have completed for each step when you completed that aluminum boats lab. Okay, so I'm going to come down here where it says building challenge. This was the boats lab. If you were at home, you were doing something with paper airplanes, so to apply to that. Okay, we're going to get this started together, and then I'll turn you loose for the rest of your assignment. For the boats, the define part, so stop and think, what was the problem or what were we trying to accomplish? You were tasked with build a boat. P.S. I'll tell you if I want complete sentences. For right now, you can just leave them as just phrases. Build a boat, and it's made out of foil, so I'm going to squeeze the word foil in there. Build a foil boat to float and hold pennies. Float and hold as many pennies as possible, but I'll just say hold pennies. Pause at any time to get all these words in, okay? You know, one of the constraints or the limits that you had was that it was a pretty small piece of foil, okay? Small piece of foil. Okay, next step, prepare. So after we were kind of clear on everything that you were tasked with, then you got together. Most of you worked with a partner, and you were starting to come up with some kind of design. Were you going to try to make something that looked like a canoe, or something more like a bowl, or maybe steeper sides like a cup? Okay. Sometimes you were drawing a picture to help give you that visual, because sometimes that's easier than trying to explain it in words. Okay. Worked with a partner, came up with some kind of design, drew the picture. Then I gave you the piece of foil and you started to build your boat. Okay, that was part of this prepare stuff. And then you went and tested it in water. So test in the water, and you had to start adding the pennies. So I'm just going to say test in water, add pennies. Cool. Once you got that done, you immediately started reflecting because you kind of wanted to see how long did it last before it finally sunk? Did it tip over, or did it just start taking water in over the sides? Okay. But here's what also I want you to add on reflect. We as a class stopped and looked at all the other boats. At all other boats. From there, you were able to see some other designs that maybe were very different from yours, got their other group's information about how many pennies it held. Okay, so was that better than yours? Not quite as many pennies as yours, and it gave you information. Because then, after we kind of compiled all of that information, then you went on to ask yourself, okay, how can we make it better? We're going to try to improve on our design for the second one. Okay, make sure you have all of this filled in on your worksheet. Okay, at the bottom of that page, there's a question here. Put a star by it. Okay. And I think on your worksheet, maybe even the first line of the next page is still at the bottom of that page. And I'm going to say, a problem you are good at solving. Just scribble out you are good at solving. So it just says a problem. All right. You might have to flip your paper over now to see where it's at. Okay. But it says you should have brainstormed a type of problem that you're good at solving. You don't even have to worry about that. Here's what I want you to do. Tell me what kind of a problem it is. Is it something at school? Is it something at home? Is it something you think should be better in Hastings or at our middle school? Whatever it is. Then define the problem. Tell me exactly what it is and what you want to see happen to make it get fixed, to make it better. Okay? That's the defined part. Then I want you to start thinking, what's a plan? How can I do some problem solving that could help me with this particular problem? Cross out try, because we're not going to implement it today. Cross out reflect. My goal is I'm trying to get you to start thinking about these steps and how they work. Cross out the what strategies, and honestly, you can cross out this second one at the bottom. All right. So here's what you need to do for the rest of the hour. On the front page, you should have all of this building challenge filled out. You're going to answer this question about what strategies. And then on the back side, you are going to fill in those three parts. When you have that done, make sure your name is on your worksheet. Put it in the back of the classroom in those trays. Okay? Make sure your name and hour are on it. Then take your journal or your notebook and put it back in the tub at the front of the class. And that is it for today. Good luck and happy problem solving.